with Dalton. I teach at Ponchatoula Junior High School, and I'm the only teacher there besides the Reading 180. That's a new program that Temple Parish started this year. But besides her, I'm the only teacher on campus that teaches a block. So at first I was kind of, I had trepidation about it, but now I love it. All right, I absolutely love it. I would never go back and want to teach only 50 minutes because you can do so much. All right, and they actually retain it better because you weren't just bringing it up over here. So I teach a lot, and I did have photo releases. So these are some of my students. This is not the actual class that did the activity because you see they're all girls. Not an all-girls school. These were some students that we took to New Orleans to see some plays that were going on. But these are some of the people. I did a lesson on, I have elements of fiction, but it's actual elements of nonfiction. And the purpose of the lesson was for students to utilize information resources to locate, analyze, and discuss the elements of nonfiction, with an emphasis on author's bias and tone. So, which all of these are author's bias and tone or elements of nonfiction, but it was specifically an emphasis on that with this particular lesson. The goal was for students to gain knowledge and respect for information resources because they think it's boring. So this actually showed that it's not boring, how you can take one thing and actually look it up yourself and try to find the actual document. So they kind of liked it. It was like, oh, that's what it is. Because they only know it by the leap test. And if you say leap, their brain automatically shut off. So I don't even really use that word a lot in my classes. Also, the goal is for students to read literature critically for comprehension and application. These are the objectives. The students will be able to identify elements of nonfiction that were previously taught in class. This was actually their unit test at the end. So they learned about purpose and audience, tone, fact, and opinion. Use information resources, navigate the internet, formulate a judgment based on presented information, and compare and contrast information. These were some of the investigative questions. I'm not going to read them all because I know you all can read. But the main one, how does the author's tone affect the outcome of greenhouse imprisonment? That was a big one. And how are greenhouse and boys similar and dissimilar? That's how they had to do the compare and contrast. The materials used, and I'm gonna do it out of order because I can't have both of the machines at the same time. So I will show y'all the golden vibes or the golden words. I'm gonna minimize this in a minute and show you all the letter to the Secretary of State from Rose Greenhouse. They needed the internet, which I'll say at the end. I was schizophrenic by the end of this because lightning struck whatever gives us the internet. So some kids had internet for a while, and then the internet went out. So I learned a valuable lesson: how hard copies. Okay? Yes, today everything that could go wrong always go wrong with me. Smart board, a circle map, and a double bubble map, which are thinking maps used by Temple Parish. And they have the resources that I used. Primary sources, set theme, they came from country and folklore, and this is the actual site, and examples of primary sources. Well, I say primary, but y'all say I put secondary by it because it was an actual summary that I had them read for the compare and contrast. It wasn't an actual document. And I had a letter to the actual Secretary of State from Rose Greenhouse, who was a Confederate spy. Okay, so that wasn't on the site. This actually was at the library at Duke University, so it wasn't there. But they did. I don't know whether the links work. I hope they're supposed to. All right, but if it's fine, it's just slow. See, when I get close to the internet, this is what happens. Any kind of technology where it's supposed to work, this is what happens. But if it were to open, you would be able to see the summary.
Excellent.
I'm not gonna be able to make it. All right, so I tried. Description of procedure. So these are the things that they did. Notice I said that I'm on a block. So this took 2 block periods. They will probably take 4 class periods for regular teachers. Like I said, I teach 8th grade. Students have been studying the elements of nonfiction such as facts and opinions, types of nonfiction, meaning journalism as opposed to as opposed to a letter and whatnot. Persuasion, tone, audience, and purpose. The students will apply the knowledge to answer the question. So they say students will read a summary, and it's on the Library of Congress online about the life of Rose Greenhouse. There it is. So this is what I mean by the summary. It's actually, the book is called My Imprisonment and the First Year of Abolition Rule at Washington. And this is the summary. So they are going to read this summary about her life. I'm figuring out two
picture. Just go back to the view show. You got the
All right, and then they did a circle map. After they read the summary, they completed a circle map. And they would normally draw it, but I just brought a picture of one that's blank too. But the principal looks down on us when we give them this. She wants them to draw it, because that's the whole point of thinking about. But I had to think, if I had a map up, you guys see looking, you know.
No, I was just wondering why they had to draw two circles.
Because on the actual testing, they have to like draw the maps to organize everything, so it gets them in the habit of drawing it themselves. All right, so the circle map, I had one up on my smartboard, and as the students would come up with the actual, they would come up and write themselves, because they like to interact with the smartboard. But for attendance purposes today, these are some things about her. She was a famous hostess. When I started reading it, it sounded like she was actually a courtesan, whatever you call it. But my daughter would call it a skank. All right, so that was she actually sounded, but I knew it would probably go over the kids' heads, so I wasn't worried about when I actually read. I was like, oh God. That's what it sounded like was going on. But famous hostess is a nice hostess. She was passionate about, the Confederacy. She traveled to England. She was very persuasive. She was a spy, and these are some things that they came out with that I put up here, when I typed it. So the description of the procedures, then they will read this. Then they will read this, and this is a selection from a nonfiction workbook that I purchased, and I'm talking about author's bias, so we know that it's biased. I let them know that it is a bias. I want you to figure out which way is a bias. Is it pro Greenhouse or or against or con? So they read The Golden Word, a little short story about her, and it only had 3 questions at the end, and they're talking about, of course, author's bias. What did they think about her after they read this? So they read the summary, which was neutral, and then they read something that was biased. And the author of that actually was negative towards her, because she drowned coming back from England. And in that story, they said that the gold actually sank the boat down, like it got a hole, and they couldn't get the gold out in time, and it drowned her. And she got gold by taking information to the people that were Confederate. They had Confederate soldiers in England. She was taking their information, so they're saying that the gold, sank the boat. So they had like a negative connotation to it. And then they had to read a summary about Belle Boyd, and and this is another summary about another woman that was a spy in the Confederacy, so they could compare contrast. Now it wasn't all the same. directed me away from that site always to this one. But, the comparison would, right. And this is the summary that I chose for him to read about her. And some of the things are similar, like you can kind of, well, y'all can't see, it has Confederacy and that she was a spy, and that she also went to England too. Okay, but you know she wasn't a famous hostess. She was, she was just married 3 times. Her husbands, she just had bad luck with husbands. Okay, and just kept dying.
What to talk about.
But so that was the difference with her. But both of them were pick the right one this time, please. Okay, and then they did the double bubble. The double bubble map where they compared in the middle with spies, and both of them traveled to England. Both of them were in prison. They got caught for being spies, and then on the outside they maybe would have put 3 husbands died, and she had one husband that died. She had one husband, so those types of things. And the description of the procedures. The student will evaluate their maps and decide on the strongest ways the 2 women are alike. Okay, and based off of that, so they only can have 2 ways that they were alike and 1 way that they were different, so that they could construct a paragraph about it, because that's what the map is about. A lot of teachers leave it at the mapping stage, but the mapping is to organize the ideas to actually write. So I wanted them to, do that component of it as well. And I said extensions that they could have done. The teacher could assign further readings of non-fictional documents from history for the application of elements. So it could be, I saw a lot of people doing it, teaching across the curriculum. Because actually there was a lot of history going on here, because the kids were asking me a lot of questions. Thank God I have a line in history, so I started talking about this. So I started basically half and half history and half English. And this is how I was doing the evaluation. The nonfiction worksheet was formal, and the worksheet on the golden words, the mapping was informal, and the writing was a homework activity. And they turned it in the next day. So that was formal. And I assessed the paragraph by using a short essay rubric from LEAP, which I took and I copied and pasted on there, and the highest they could get is 4 points, followed by that criteria. And these are the students in the lab, the day of. That's what little sheets that they have that I have right here. I had instructions, and some of them, the reason they're looking frustrated because their internet wasn't working. Okay. So that's what I had. One other thing that I wanted to show was the actual letter. Let's see. Oh, there it is. Oh, there. Okay. And this is, of course, the type version of it. Can y'all see it? Oh, yeah. All right. That's the type version of it. And this is the old document. And even though they couldn't read it, they loved looking. It was like, whoa, that's old. And it was like, why does the paper look like this? So we started talking about, how oxygen is, well, I guess we went into science. But they liked to see the old one while they were reading the new one. Are there any questions?